Assalamu alaikum. People were waiting for the third part of my video refuting the false claim of the Ash'aris that Allah is existed without place. In this third part, there are a lot of strong evidences to disprove this claim. I want you to watch it and take a pen and a paper and scan all of those documents I'm showing. This claim in this video, this unknown person, he doesn't tell us what's his name. He said that all the Ummah agreed that Allah is existed without place, and that Al-Batin, one of the names of Allah, means the one whom there is nothing below him. Now, you will see, Bukhari mentioned the opposite, that Al-Batin means the one who is with full knowledge. That means the inner of the person, the hidden secret of the person is exposed to Allah while he is up over his throne. Bukhari said it, Al-Qurtubi said it, while Al-Qurtubi is Ash'ari, by the way. Mullah Ali Qari, a Hanafi scholar, said the same thing. Al-Batin is the one who knows Al-Batin of the person. Al-Batin. This is Al-Batin inside. Linguistic scholars, Ibn Manzur, Al-Azhari, they proclaimed that Al-Batin is the one who is aware of the hidden things inside his creatures while he is over his throne. You're going to enjoy watching this video, which it took me couple of days to finish it. It's a service to Allah's deen, to the doctrine of Ahl Sunnah, and against those Ash'aris who are reviving the Jahmiyyah way. And by the way, Al-Bukhari quoted his scholars like Muhammad ibn Yusuf, that the one who denies that Allah is over his throne, that Allah is in as-sama, he is kafir. Enjoy watching my video. Assalamu alaikum.
Which means some of our companions, they used as a proof in clearing Allah from residing inside a place, from being in a place, the saying of the Messenger of Allah عليه الصلاة والسلام أنت الظاهر فليس فوقك شيء وأنت الباطن فليس دونك شيء. Which means, O Allah, you are al-Zahir, so there is nothing above you, and you are al-Batin, so there is nothing below you.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Look what Al-Bukhari said. الظاهر على كل شيء علما. He is over all things with knowledge. والباطن على كل شيء علما. And he is Allah al-Batin in his knowledge. Allahu Akbar. Al-Bukhari is against you. You want to tell people that there is nothing beneath Allah. Quoting, وَأَنْتَ الْبَاطِنُ فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْء. Al-Bukhari said, Al-Batin over all things in his knowledge. Ilman. Hadith number 7378. You're in trouble. He quoted Imam Yahya saying that. This translation is false. Al-Batin means the closest to the internal, to the interior. That's why he said, وَأَنْتَ الْبَاطِنْ فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْء. Dunaka means a part of you, someone who's closer than you in knowing what occurs inside. He's not talking about direction. That's why your translation is false. Dunaka shay, it doesn't mean in English below you something or nothing below you. The word below is false. That's why Al-Bayhaqi said some of our people. And you before, you said that all scholars agreed that Allah has existed without place. But here, Al-Bayhaqi is saying, some. Where's the agreement you alleged? Good point. None of the Salaf concluded that there is nothing beneath Allah. They all said Allah is in the height, as-sama, and His knowledge is everywhere. That is the meaning of al-batin. No one can be closer to Allah in His knowledge about what occurs in the secrets of His creatures. That is the exact meaning. Unlike your false meaning. وَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْءٍ, that means nothing is below you. This is the manipulation. You are manipulating the hadith. دُونَكَ شَيْءٍ, it doesn't mean below you. So, your alleged agreement is false. You contradicted it when you quoted Al-Bayhaqi saying, some of our colleagues, that means the Ash'aris, they concluded this, that he has no place. Some. So you don't know that by quoting Al-Bayhaqi, you contradicted yourself. The other contradiction is all the Salaf believed, as you see. Imam Malik said Allah is in as-sama and His knowledge is everywhere. Good point also. Let's continue.
Al-Imam Al-Hafiz Al-Bayhaqi, he said, if there's nothing on top of Allah and there's nothing underneath Allah, this means Allah exists without being in a place.
This hadith is against you and it's for us. But you don't understand neither the language nor the Quran. Look, the hadith says, أنت الظاهر فليس فوقك شيء. It's obvious. The Prophet is saying, you are al-Zahir, which means al-Ali, the one who is up. That's why he said, فَلَيْسَ فَوْقَكَ شَيْءٍ. And it also comes with the meaning of the undefeatable, the one who defeats others but can never be defeated. Well, we have an Ash'ari scholar, Mufassir, whose name is Al-Qurtubi, who said something different. He said, Al-Batin هو العلم هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. That means he is fully knowing what occurs inside your inner. That's what it means. Al-Batin. He knows your batin inside of you. That's why Allah said, وَذَرُوا ظَاهِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَبَاطِنَهُ, and quit the exterior type of sin and the interior sin, al-batin. So he knows the interior sin. As you see in this ayah, you are the high upon whom there is no one who is over you. You are over all, while there is no one over you. This hadith is against you. And I'll bring two ayat from the Quran which proves what I'm saying. Ayah number 1. Surah Az-Zukhruf, ayah number 33. ولولا أن يكون الناس أمة واحدة لجعلنا لمن يكفر بالرحمن لبيوتهم سقفا من فضة ومعارج عليها يظهرون. And if it were not that the people would become one community of disbelievers, we would have made for those who disbelieve in the most merciful Ar-Rahman, for their houses, ceilings and stairway of silver upon which to mount over. يظهرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, had it not been that the people are divided into believers and disbelievers, He would have been given the disbelievers all what they need. even high places that they can mount over. يظهرون. That's number one. Number two, Surah Al-Kahf, ayah number 97. فما استطاعوا أن يظهروا وما استطاعوا له نقبا. They, that means Yagog. They, that means Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog. So they were unable to pass over it. يظهروا. They could not win over it, nor they able to effect in it any penetration. Which means Dhul Qarnayn filled a big dam that blocked the hole. So those corruptors, Gog and Magog, they could not get over it and get down therefrom to the people. فَمَسْطَعُوا أَنْ يَظْهَرُوا. So al-Zahir is the one who is up and there is no one over him. You brought the hadith which is against you. أنت الأول فليس فوقك شيء. Alright. What about وأنت الباطن فليس دونك شيء? Now this part of the hadith, you are al-batin, so there is no one beneath you. So why don't you, Shaykh Dimashqiya, say that there is nothing beneath Allah? It can't be, because Allah said He is over the throne. So that means the throne is beneath Him, and the throne is over everything, over the seven skies. So how can we say al-batin? It means the one who there is nothing beneath him. So what about the Prophet saying فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْءٍ? He is the closest. No one can be closer to any person than Allah. By what? By His knowledge. So He is the one who is up, and while being up, He is closer in His knowledge than anyone. And nothing can be exempted, free from Allah's knowledge. What is the evidence? Imam Malik said, Allahu fis sama. Allah is in the height over. وعلمه في كل مكان, and His knowledge is everywhere. لا يخلو من علمه مكان. That means nothing can be free from Allah's knowledge. Who said that? Imam Malik. Who narrated it from him? Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. As you see in his book Al-Ilal, authentically. Now, the last thing is, Al-Bayhaqi said, a group of our people, that means the Ash'aris, they said, Allah, laysa dunahu shay', there is nothing beneath Allah. That means there is no place beneath. Did he say we agree with them? How can Bayhaqi agree with them while he's the one who said? Look what he was explaining the ayah, أَأَمِنْتُم مَّن فِي السَّمَاءِ, which you are escaping from this ayah. Are you secure of the one who is in the height, in as-sama'? He said, فِي السَّمَاء means over as-sama'. Over the throne. Look at it, look. He was quoting Abu Abdullah al-Hafiz that Abu Bakr Ahmad ibn Ishaq ibn Ayyub al-Faqih said it, which means Al-Bayhaqi approved it. في السماء, in the height, it means على العرش, على السماء, over السماء. He was quoting Abu Abdullah al-Hafiz that Abu Bakr Ahmad ibn Ishaq ibn Ayyub al-Faqih said it, which means Al-Bayhaqi approved it. As Allah said, فَسِيحُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, so walk in the land. It doesn't mean walk inside it, inside the land. It means over. And Fir'aun threatened the magicians who repented, saying to them, I'm going to crucify you in the branches of the tree. Which means over the branches, not inside the branches. Then he said, فَكَذَلِكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي السَّمَاءِ, so likewise, saying, Allah saying, in السماء means over his throne. كما صحت الأخبار في السماء over السماء. كما صحت الأخبار, as the narrations were authentically affirming this. Allahu Akbar. When you quote Al-Bayhaqi, we can use Al-Bayhaqi, which you quoted, against you. Alhamdulillah. This is the way of Ahl Sunnah. Kabbiru ya Ahl Sunnah. Say Allahu Akbar. What are you going to say after that? You have nothing to say. Walillahi alhamd. Do you know that Al-Bayhaqi affirmed that Allah is over his creation? Al-Bayhaqi illustrated the meaning of Allah fi sama, in the height, which you are denying. He's saying that Allah in as-sama, which means that Allah is over his throne, as the evidences from the book and the sunnah were proven, affirmed it, as the ayat and the ahadith were authentically narrated. Allahu Akbar. See? You pick and choose. You pick from Al-Bayhaqi what is suitable for your false doctrine, and you ignore what Al-Bayhaqi said. You know, Al-Bayhaqi was an early Ash'ari, and the early Ash'aris, which are called the Kullabiyya, they used to be believing strictly that Allah is over his creatures, even if Al-Bayhaqi says something else here. And the meaning of فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْء, there is nothing beneath you, which means that Allah is the closest to his servants by his knowledge while he is up. That's why right after that Allah said, وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٍ. This is evident that when Allah said, وَالْبَاطِن, he's talking about his knowledge. That's why he said, وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٍ. And he is fully aware of everything. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. Then he said, وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٍ. And he is all-knowing. He is absolutely knowing of all what happens down, even in your intention, in your heart, while he is up. And al-Zahir means the highest. That's why Allah said, فَمَا اسْطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ. They could not get over it. So al-Zahir is the one in the height. So that ayah, هو الظاهر, it's for us, not for you. It's against you. That Allah is over everything. And he's the closest to us than anyone else while he's up. As Imam Malik said. And Imam Ahmad quoted him saying, Allah is in the height as-sama. And his knowledge is in everywhere. Nowhere can be exempted from his knowledge. Finish. So this ayah, which he quoted, is for us and against you. Let's continue. Now those colleagues became more evident than the Quran and the Sunnah. أَأَمِنْتُم مَّن فِي السَّمَاءِ, in the Quran. And the Prophet asked the concubine, where's Allah? She said, he is in as-sama. And what about Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, the big tabi'i, who was asked, how do we know? Al-Bayhaqi also narrated this from Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, the follower of the companions, the big Sunni leaders, that Al-Bukhari quoted his narration that Allah is over his seven skies, over his throne. It seems that those colleagues of Al-Bayhaqi, the Ash'aris, are better than Al-Bukhari, Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, and even than the Quran and the Sunnah. Our Lord, he said, we know him that he is over his seven skies, over his throne. This is not evident? It seems the colleagues of Al-Bayhaqi are better source of your doctrine than the Quran and the Sunnah and the Tabi'een. This is how the philosophy, ilm al-kalam, generates stubborn goats whose heads are ever harder than the iron. This is also narrated by Bukhari, not only Bayhaqi, but you're so ignorant. You don't know the Aqeedah of Bukhari. You are going against it. Who said that? What can a person hide? Al-Batin, closer, while he is up over in his throne, he knows what is deeply hidden in the soul of anyone. This is the meaning of Al-Batin, given by an Ash'ari Mufassir, and that is Al-Qurtubi. Also, we have another one, whose name is Mullah Ali Qari Al-Hanafi. In his book, Mirqat al-Mafatih, Sharh Bishkat al-Masabih, he said, Al-Batin is the one who is the closest in Al-Batin of the person. No one can be closer to him in the knowledge. Volume 8, page 284. We have one Hanafi scholar, one Ash'ari scholar, Mufassir, who said something differently than what you claim. That dun means below. Even the greatest linguistic, Ibn Manzur, in his book Lisan al-Arab, he illustrated this hadith, وَأَنْتَ الْبَاطِنُ فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْءٍ. He says, it's been said that it's talking about knowing the secrets and the hidden things as equally of his knowledge. They're both the same to Allah. Whether you hide or you utter, they're equal, the same to Allah. So never play that game and say that if Allah is al-Batin, that means there is no one below him, that means he's not any place. I can make mubahala for you. I invite you for mubahala. And you say, oh Allah, I believe that أنت الباطن فليس دونك شيء. It means there is nothing below you, even the arsh. I challenge you. You won't dare to do it. But if you do, that will be for your own devastation. That mubahala will be destroying you, inshallah. I'm ready for that. But do you have the guts? No. You don't have the guts even to declare your name. Recently I found your name Abu al-Khair. That's not a name. Maybe this is a family. There are people whose family name is Abu al-Khair. What is your name? Agenda? Even in the linguistic, the book تهذيب اللغة for Al-Azhari. تهذيب اللغة for Al-Azhari. He said the same thing. Al-Batin, that means his knowledge of Al-Batin, what people hide inside them. He knows it. تهذيب اللغة for Al-Azhari, volume 4, page 414. Al-Zahir has two meanings. The power, the defeater, who cannot be defeated. Also, the one who is over. As Allah said in the Quran, فَمَا اسْطَاعُوا أَنْ يَظْهَرُوهُ. The people of Gog and Magog, after Dhul Qarnayn dammed the wall, then they could not go over the wall. فَمَا اسْطَاعُوا أَنْ يَظْهَرُوهُ in Surah Al-Kahf. Also the other ayah, وَمَعَارِجَ عَلَيْهَا يَظْهَرُونَ. Stairways that they'll be mounting over. يظهرون فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه. Two meanings. But as for Al-Batin, his knowledge about what people hide in their button. We call that button what is inside the soul of the person. Alhamdulillah. We're done and you're done. You're finished. You and your madhab. You and your tawheed. Tawheed, Allah has no place. That's Tawheed. Let's go to Jannah because we said God has no place. What kind of Tawheed is this? Was this the Tawheed that Muhammad was fighting the people of Mecca for? You're allowing people to say, oh Muhammad, which is the same shirk of the people of Mecca. They used to be seeking refuge with the dead righteous people. Where are you from this Tawheed? Nothing. You're supporting that kind of shirk. And you quote Hadith al-A'ma, and you did it before. Hadith al-A'ma, it consists, Ya Muhammad, I direct myself to you in this need that I have. Where is the tawassul? This is the same shirk of the people of Mecca, the pagans.
बुखारी मुस्लिम दोनों में हदीस है, ऐसा ना हो कि कोई शख्स क़यामत वाले दिन इस हाल में मुझे पुकार रहा हो और कह रहा हो अगीथनी या रसूल अल्लाह मेरी मदद फरमाएं, और वो चीखें मार मार के मुझे पुकार रहा हो अगीथनी या रसूल अल्लाह। अब ये अगीथनी या रसूल अल्लाह वो बैज हैं जो बनाया करते थे ये लोग यहाँ लगाने के लिए, हम खुद भी लगाया करते थे।
So you did not apply the real Tawheed, and you changed the Tawheed from not setting partners with Allah in your supplication to what? Allah has no place. He's not over his throne. He should not move. He should not speak. This is the impudent Ash'ari claim that Allah does not speak, that Allah speaks without language, without letter, without voice, without word. Without language, without letter, without voice. And they say, so he speaks. If he doesn't speak, he speaks means he utters. The Prophet Ibrahim sallallahu alaihi wasallam was blaming the false gods of his father and the people when he said to them, مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنْطِقُونَ, what is the matter with you? You do not utter. So, if our God doesn't utter, that means he should be included in Ibrahim's blaming for the false gods when he said to them, why don't you utter? مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنْطِقُونَ. In your Tawheed, Allah should not utter. He speaks without language, without letter, doesn't utter, no voice, no language, no letter, no word. And they say Allah speaks. Very strange people. This is the bitterness of the philosophy that you allowed to learn it and teach it. And it caused division. Did you serve religion? No. Your agenda against the religion of Allah. As Al-Razi, you quoted him saying that dun means below. Do you know that he is Mu'tazili? And your Shaykh Al-Ash'ari, he repented from the madhab of Mu'tazila. See, this is the trick. Ash'aris and Mu'tazila, among them there are linguistic people who are high linguistically scholars. But they give meanings that are fit with their Mu'tazila madhab. Then those Ash'aris say, Al-Razi said, Fairuz Abadi said, and those are Ash'aris. So we don't trust the meanings they give because they do it in line with their madhab, with their false madhab. So they write books of language, then Ash'ari clerics, they quote them, they said, Al-Razi said, who is he? Mu'tazili or Ash'ari. So we should not be accepting them as long as they're Ash'a'ira or Mu'tazila. Who said that he was close to I'tizal Mu'tazila? Al-Dhahabi. In his book Siyar Alam al-Nubala, volume 16, page 341. Allahu Akbar. You never bring something, but we show you, but we strike these evidences you bring intellectually, academically. Walillahi alhamd. Ahl al-Sunnah are the people of Hujjah. Plus, Al-Bayhaqi said, the meaning of Allah is in as-sama, that means He is over His throne. Why don't you quote Al-Bayhaqi saying this? Let's continue.
Which means some of our companions, they used as a proof in clearing Allah from residing inside a place, from being in a place, the saying of the Messenger of Allah عليه الصلاة والسلام أنت الظاهر فليس فوقك شيء وأنت الباطن فليس دونك شيء.
See, they translate it as there is nothing under you. And that's not true. This is not the illustration of the Salaf. How come there is nothing beneath Allah? He is up. There is nothing over Him. But you can't say that there is nothing beneath Him. There is the Arsh, the throne of Allah, beneath Him. There are 7 skies under the throne. There are creatures under the 7 skies. So how can you say there is nothing beneath Him? Ha ha ha. See? When Al-Bayhaqi says, our companions, Ashabuna, this is well known that he's talking about his friends, the Ash'aris. His cult, the Ash'aris. That's what it means when he says, بَعْضُ أَصْحَابٍ. Some, not all of them. That also means that there's a differ between them. Let's continue.
Means, oh Allah, you are al-Zahir, so there is nothing above you. And
Mumtaz. Good, there's nothing above you. Continue.
And you are al-Batin, so there is nothing below you.
فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْءٍ. This is what they're playing the game with, that there's nothing beneath Him. No. He's talking about the knowledge. You are the closest down to everyone in your knowledge. That's what it means. Otherwise, how do you say that there is nothing beneath Allah? You prove that Allah is up. How can you say there is nothing down beneath Him while you prove that He's up? You're contradictory. Continue.
Al-Imam al-Hafiz al-Bayhaqi, he said, it is nothing on top of Allah and there's nothing underneath Allah. This means Allah exists without being in a place.
Let's say that Al-Bayhaqi mentioned this. Al-Bayhaqi has something else which you do not dare to quote. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show the document which you're running away from. He said Allah, and he said that Al-Ash'ari said that Allah is over all things. Over all things. Look, Al-Bayhaqi, he was quoting Jahm ibn Safwan saying that Allah is everywhere. Al-Bayhaqi said, كَذَبَ عَدُوُ اللَّهِ. How? What a liar is that enemy of Allah. For Allah is in as-sama as He described Himself. And when he narrated Abu Hanifa saying that Allah is in as-sama apart from the earth, he said, Al-Bayhaqi then said, Sadaqa Abu Hanifa, and he agreed with what the Quran described Allah, that He is in as-sama. Take it! Allahu Akbar. This proves that Al-Bayhaqi is disagreeing with his companions, the Ash'aris, who said that Allah is in nowhere. Al-Bayhaqi is saying the book proves that Allah is in as-sama. See how ilm al-kalam makes you denying what Allah said, as if you know about Allah better than what He knows about Himself. Look, Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, not Ibn Taymiyyah, Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari said, and my answer to this, that Allah is over His throne and He is above all things. بائن منها لا تحله ولا يحلها لا يمسها لا يشبهها. He's over all things while there is no touch. It doesn't. Al-Ash'ari is telling you that when Allah is over the things, it doesn't mean that He is touching it or it's being touched by Him. There is a distance between Allah and the things that are beneath Him. That's what Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari said. Al-Bayhaqi quoted his Imam, the Ash'ari, that istawa ala al-arsh means Allah is over His throne, which means Allah is over all things. Why don't you quote that? See, you are elusive. Shame on you.
Al-Hafiz, Al-Imam Muslim in his Sahih, he mentioned that the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam said, Allahumma anta al-awwalu falaysa qablaka shay, wa anta al-akhiru falaysa ba'daka shay, wa anta al-zahiru falaysa fawqaka shay, wa anta al-batinu falaysa dunaka shay. Which means, oh Allah, you are al-awwal. That's me. And there is nothing before you. There's nothing up. And you are al-batin. There is nothing beneath you. This hadith, it was narrated by Imam Muslim in his Sahih. It was narrated by Abu Dawood in his Sunan. By Ibn Hibban in his Sahih. By An-Nasa'i in his Sunan. By Ibn Sunni in Amal al-Yawmi wal-Layla. And other than them. Is the consensus of the Muslim nation. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the nation of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it will not gather and have a consensus upon something which is wrong. It means that if there's a consensus established, this means the consensus is true.
You have broken the consensus already by quoting Al-Bayhaqi saying that some of our companions said that Allah is not in a place. And we quoted to you Al-Bayhaqi saying that Allah is in as-sama as He described Himself. Al-Bukhari and Al-Bayhaqi quoted Ibn Mubarak saying we define Allah that He is in as-sama. Finish! You have been broken. You have been shredded. Fine. You're quoting the Prophet saying this hadith, it is in Sahih Muslim. But also in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet is saying to the concubine, where is Allah? She said, He is in as-sama. He said to her owner, free her, for she is a believer. Do you agree with the hadith? Do you agree with what the concubine said? I want you to give an answer to that. Clear answer. Refute me. And say to me, I agree. I believe in the same of what the concubine believed in. I challenge you. So why do you pick and choose from Sahih Muslim? Why don't you quote what Muslim narrated also? Irhamu man fil ard. Yarhamkum man fis sama. Be merciful to people on earth. The one in heaven will be granting you mercy. ألا تأمنوني وأنا أمين من في السماء. Shouldn't you be trusting me while I have been entrusted by the one who is in as-sama, the heaven? I am the trustworthy person of the one who is in as-sama. Allah said that He is in as-sama. The Prophet said that Allah is in as-sama. The concubine said that Allah is in as-sama, except you and your Ash'aris. You said no. Allah is not in as-sama. The concubine succeeded while you failed. All of his lecture focuses on denying that Allah is up, opposing what Allah said in the Quran, أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ, opposing what the Prophet said, I am the trusted one of the one who is in as-sama. The Prophet witnessed, testified the belief of the concubine when she said that Allah is in as-sama. Those people don't. All of his lecture is to deny that Allah is in as-sama. Denying the confession of Abu Hanifa, cited by Al-Bayhaqi, that Allah is up in as-sama, apart from earth. Denying what Al-Ash'ari said in his book, Risala ila Ahl al-Thaghr, that they agreed, that all scholars agreed that Allah is over his seven skies, over his throne. See, ilm al-kalam generates goats that their head is harder than the wall. Allahu Akbar. Continue.
أن الإمام البيهقي
He said about this hadith, أنت الأول فليس قبلك شيء. This is authentic, narrated by Sahih Muslim. What about Allah proving that He is in as-sama in Surah Tabarak, أأمنتم من في السماء? Huh? Maybe it's not authentic. What about the hadith of the concubine in Sahih Muslim? Not authentic? Why don't you follow it? Why don't you succeed like the success of the concubine? I challenge you, making a video saying, my belief is identical to the belief of the concubine who said that Allah is in as-sama. I challenge you. You're opposing her.
أن الإمام البيهقي is from how far away? الحافظ الإمام الكبير الفقيه الشافعي.
الإمام الفقيه الحافظ الكبير الشافعي. He wants to elevate him to persuade you accepting his word, which is contradicted by another word of him, that Allah is over all the things. He's over his throne. The hadith of Rasulullah, the great, the faqih, master of the sons of Adam, doesn't persuade you to believe that Allah in as-sama as he said. Only al-hafidh al-kabir al-shafi'i. What about the hadith of Rasulullah, the great, the magnificent? No. Just ignore what Allah said. Ignore what the Prophet said. He said, Allah fi sama, stawa ala al-arsh means Allah is over his throne because he is over all things. He and the Imam of the Ash'aris, Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, said that. You don't want it. See, the people of kalam are the people of desire, hawa. They pick and choose. Tak, 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 tak. They pick and choose. This is because of the philosophy. They commit themselves to it.
The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the nation of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it will not gather and have a consensus upon something which is wrong.
That's why we are against you. So there is no agreement. When we disagree with you, we are agreeing with Al-Bukhari and his scholars who affirmed that Allah is over his throne in as-sama. Plus, Al-Bukhari quoted his scholar, Yusuf ibn Muhammad, saying that the one who does not believe that Allah is in as-sama over his throne, he is kafir. Stop claiming agreements and consensuses while you are disagreeing with Bukhari and all his scholars and mashayikh. You're disconsidering Al-Bukhari and you're picking up this core Ash'ari person, Abdul Qahir al-Baghdadi. Who cares about this one? You left the book and the Sunnah and Bukhari and his scholars and you're catching this Ash'ari guy. Your Ash'ari guys are not hujjah, evident against us. No. So you think that you're playing game that all scholars agreed about that. No. The scholars of the Salaf, they agreed with even Al-Bayhaqi. And by the way, I told you, Al-Bayhaqi admitted that Allah is over his throne. At-Tabari, he illustrated the ayah, أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ, he said, and that is Allah. And he said that Allah is over the throne. He went up, irtafa, he elevated, and ala, and went over, up. He elevated up over his throne. Who said that? At-Tabari, the greatest mufassir. And this statement of At-Tabari agrees with what Al-Bukhari narrated in Sahih, in his book, Sahih al-Bukhari, quoting the two students of Ibn Abbas. Authentically, they said that Stawa ala al-Arsh means he elevated over his throne. You're denying that. You're ignoring that. Look at the hadith of Mujahid and Abu al-Aliya in Sahih al-Bukhari. They made it clear Allah elevated over His throne. Mr. Pick and choose. You're ignoring all of that. This is the doctrine of Bukhari. He quoted Sufyan saying that Allah is in the height. They said to him, what about وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ? And Allah is with you wherever you be. He said, His knowledge. علمه, His knowledge. You are either misguided or a liar. How can the Ummah, the whole nation, agree to disobey Allah in His ayah, أَأَمِنْتُم مَّن فِي السَّمَاءِ? I'm documenting everything I say to prove that you are elusive. And you are, by the way, a victim of your Ash'ari doctrine. The Ash'aris are proud of Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, whom when he repented, he said, my way is the way of Imam Ahmad. As al-Ash'ari, as as-Subki, the Ash'ari, so-called Shafi'i scholar, he admitted that al-Ash'ari said, my way is the way of Imam Ahmad. And Imam Ahmad quoted Imam Malik saying that Allah is up and His knowledge is everywhere. And this is the meaning of the Prophet. أنت الظاهر فليس فوقك شيء وأنت الباطن فليس دونك شيء. You're misquoting this, which means that there is no creation under you, O Allah. That means you're denying that Allah created the throne, which is beneath Him, the seventh sky beneath the throne, and you're denying that we are down in the earth. What a doctrine you have! A concubine was more knowledgeable about Allah than you.
It means that if there's a consensus established, this means the consensus is true. Imam
Awza'i said, we used to be all the scholars, Ahmad al-Shafi'i, all of those, we used to be believing that Allah is over His throne in as-sama, while His knowledge is everywhere. You don't, you disagree with that. Your so-called consensus is a lie. And the companions of Bayhaqi are the Ash'aris. Now the Salaf, no. Continue.
Al-Imam Abdul Qahir Ibn Tahir Abu Mansur al-Baghdadi,
the Ash'ari who made a lie against Ali. It's coming. He's going to say it. Continue.
He died in the year 429 after the Hijrah.
That means the 5th century. He was not among those three praised 3 centuries which the Prophet praised. Al-Qurun al-Thalath, Al-Ajyal, the 3 first generations. He came after these 3 praised generations. Continue. He thinks you don't know what he's talking about.
Around 1,000 years ago, he narrated the consensus of the Muslims from the Salaf and the Khalaf that Allah exists without a place. He said in his book, الفرق بين الفرق وأجمعوا على أن أي الله لا يحويه مكان ولا يجري عليه زمان.
Allahu Akbar. You know this term? Allah cannot be contained by a place and He is off the time. No time can be affecting Him. You know whose statement is this? Aristotle and the philosophers. I'm going to put it for you in English. And Philo, the Jew. Look at the document. This man is Ash'ari. Abdul Qahir al-Baghdadi is an Ash'ari. He's quoting the Ash'ari consensus. Dear brothers, I refer you always to the book of Bukhari, Khalq Af'al al-Ibad. I'm going to explain it in English, inshallah. You will be seeing clearly something against that alleged consensus. He quoted Abdullah ibn Mubarak. He is one of the 4 scholars that are praised by Imam Ahmad. He was asked, how do we know Allah? How do we define Allah? He said that He is over His throne, over His seven skies. And your Imam Ash'ari himself, he said that Allah is over His throne, over His seven skies, apart from the earth. He said, وَأَجْمَعُوا, they all agreed that Allah is. This Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, the Imam of the Ash'ari cult, has crushed your alleged consensus. You're a liar. Huh? You're going to ignore it. You're not going to talk about it. You're not going to involve it. Come on, go ahead, refute me and publish it. You're not going to do that. I challenge you. This Abdul Qahir al-Baghdadi quoted a Shiite narration claiming that Ali said, Allah created the throne to show His majesty, not to sit on it. This narration is existed without place. It has no place in the books of the Sunnah. He got it from the Shia. There is no chain of narration between him and Ali. That's a lie. It's a narration taken by the Shia liars who had trillions of lies against Ali. He took it from them. This is Abdul Qahir al-Baghdadi. Abdul Qahir al-Baghdadi is not a Sunni. He's Ash'ari, Falsafi, philosopher. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Look what al-Bukhari said. الظاهر على كل شيء علما. He is over all things with knowledge. والباطن على كل شيء علما. And He is Allah al-Batin in His knowledge. Allahu Akbar. Al-Bukhari is against you. You want to tell people that there is nothing beneath Allah. Quoting, وَأَنْتَ الْبَاطِنُ فَلَيْسَ دُونَكَ شَيْءٍ. Al-Bukhari said, Al-Batin over all things in His knowledge. علما. Hadith number 7378. You're in trouble. He quoted Imam Yahya saying that. Finally, this issue about Allah was while there was nothing before Him, this is not the topic that the Prophet brought. This is not the Tawheed that the Prophet brought. The first thing which the Prophet firstly said, as well as all the Prophets before him, اعبدوا الله, worship Allah, ما لكم من إله غيره. There is no God for you other than Him to worship. ما لكم من إله غيره. There is no God. That means, God means the one that is worshipped. There is no one that deserves to be worshipped except Him. That is the Tawheed. So Allah was while there was nothing. Khalas. You want to tell me that there was no throne, there was no water, etc., etc., etc. All right, but we don't give details before that. You are confined to talk about Allah only by what He detailed to you through His Quran, through His Prophet ﷺ. Other than that, shut up your mouth. Always about all the ways about Allah's names and attributes are blocked on people except through what Allah described Himself, what His Prophet described Him. That's all. Now, let's get back to the hadith. So Allah was while there was nothing before Him. All right. And His throne was over the water. Where is Allah? Don't tell me you should not be asking this question. The Prophet asked it. In the hadith of Jariyah, Sahih Muslim, when he asked the concubine, where is Allah? So don't tell me that you should not say, where is Allah? Look, if Allah is in nowhere, why the Prophet asked, where is Allah? See the contradiction. Jahmiyyah, you are Jahmiyyah. Okay, so there was nothing. Okay, but there was throne. Yes. So is the throne place or not? You are owed to say that the throne of Allah is a place. Especially, there is a chair on that throne. A chair as a location for 2 feet. This is authentic. Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar said, the hadith of the chair is authentic. And the chair is a place, in the chair, a place for 2 feet. The hadith is sahih. Ibn Hajar said it's authentic. You cannot say no. Allah affirmed for himself 1 foot, as the Prophet said, which is narrated in Bukhari. Tell us about the second location. So the other location was set for who? That's a good question. For another partner with Allah? So is Allah without place or He's over the place? Allah said in the Quran, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. Then He went over the throne. So where's Allah now? The Ash'ari would say to you, no place. What an impudent, rude person. The hadith is so clear that Allah is over His throne, that Allah is in as-sama, in the height, over His 7 thrones, over His 7 skies, which are beneath the throne of Allah, and Allah is over His throne. Who said that? Your Imam the Ash'ari. What did he say? وَاتَّفَقُوا. Look at it. It's the book of your Imam. وَاتَّفَقُوا على أن الله على عرشه فوق سماواته دون أرضه. All scholars agreed that Allah is over His 7 skies, over His throne apart from the earth. That means He's up apart from down. So He's talking about a direction, a place. I challenge you that you refute me. I challenge you. So the question is, when you say that Allah is without place, is He still until now without place? Or He's over the place, which is the throne? And if Allah is not over as-sama, what is the value of the Prophet telling us that at the last 3rd part of the night, Allah descends to the lowest heaven, which is a place as well. So He's over the place and He gets down to another place. So if you denied both that Allah is over His throne, which is mentioned in the Quran, and you denied that what the Prophet said, that Allah descends to the lowest heaven, you become disbeliever, kafir. Because you're denying what Allah said and what His Prophet said. They may say to you, Allah doesn't need the place. Yes, and Allah does not need the angels, but He employed them in certain missions. Doesn't mean that He needs them. Allah orders the angels to write the deeds of the people. But there are many things that the angels could not write. The intention of people when they do the good thing, this is left to Allah. Many things that the angels cannot include in writing, but everything is kept with Allah. So Allah doesn't need the angels. Oh, but if you say that Allah has a chair and throne, that means He needs to sit down. You're resembling the Jews who say, Allah created the heavens in 6 days. On the 7th, He took rested. He rested. He took rest. So that means if you say that Allah is getting over His throne, that means He needs the throne. Oh, really? We don't see that applied even among us, the human beings. Have you ever seen a king, when he becomes king and he sits on his throne, does he say to the people, please take me to the throne, I need to sit down, I'm tired? If The human being sits over his throne. He doesn't need it. But sitting on the throne is the symbol of magnitude, greatness, glory. Not because he gets tired. Well, I haven't seen a king saying, please, let me sit down on the throne. I'm very tired. If that doesn't happen to a human being, why do you... This is your techniques of mughalata, philosophy. And the whole ilm al-kalam is based on that philosophy. Also in Jannah, the people of Jannah, they lean on the couch, متكئين فيها على الأرائك, like this. Doesn't mean they get tired. There's no tiredness in Jannah. But in life, yes. See? So the issue that we should not say that he's over the throne, otherwise that means he needs the throne. No, he doesn't need the throne. He doesn't get rested even if he sits on the throne. Do you say that, Shaykh? Oh my God. Well, tell me please, the hadith that the throne of Allah has a chair and it is the place for 2 feet. Astaghfirullah. Allah doesn't need that. All right. Well, Allah created that chair, which is the place for 2 feet. Allah created it for who? For who? For who? Never tell me that al-kursi mawdi'u al-qadamain. The chair is the place which is fit for 2 feet. Don't tell me it's not authentic. It is authentic. Well, we can find ta'wil, an explanation for that. Your Ash'ari scholars admitted all, without any disagreement, that the ta'wil, the metaphor we give, is possible, is not certain. It's possible. So we don't need your possibilities. Throw them in the bin with ilm al-kalam. Throw them. We don't need them. Well, he may ask you this question. Where was Allah before creating the heavens and the earth and the place? Where was he? Al-Bukhari narrated, Sufyan was asked this question. He said, La a'lam. I have no knowledge. What an ignorant, he doesn't know. Yes, we should not know what Allah did not let us know. This is a matter of unseen, ghaib. With regards to the matter of unseen, we're not allowed to dig, to search thoroughly. Where was he before that? No need. If it's a matter of faith, Allah would have been giving us detail about that matter of faith. Since Allah did not tell us it's not a matter of faith, any matter that benefits our faith is mentioned to us. And Allah said, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. And do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge about. That's the manhaj, the methodology of Ahl Sunnah. You are not Ahl Sunnah. You are diverting people from the Tawheed the Prophet called people for, to another type of Tawheed. Where was Allah? Allah is not direction. Allah is not any place. He is neither inside the world nor outside of the world. What? Wallahi, that's what they say. This is the nothingness. The nothing is what deserves to be said about it. It's the thing which is not inside the world, not outside the world. Adam. So, Mr. Unknown, you are Adami. You are nothing follower. You lost your God. When a man was making a debate with another Salafi scholar in front of one of the leaders of the Muslims, that's in the past, so the Sunni proposed his doctrine that Allah is over his throne. The Ash'ari, Jahmi, Adami, he said he's neither inside the world nor outside the world. Then the leader said, those kind of people, they lost their God. Why don't you define Allah, characterize Allah by what He characterized Himself? He is over the throne. He is in as-sama. When the Prophet asked the concubine, that means she's ignorant. But she knows Allah by fitrah, natural disposition. He asked her, he did not ask one who is graduate from a Sorbonne University. No. Did not learn philosophy. No. Concubine. Where is Allah? She said, in as-sama. Then he said to her owner, free her, for she is a believer. So the Prophet witnessed, testified her iman when she said Allah is in as-sama. If you ask an Ash'ari, where is Allah? Yeah, he's without place. Walak, ya stupid. Ya idiot. You failed while the concubine succeeded. Now, prepare for the shock. Your Imam Ash'ari, he said, the Mu'tazila, we agreed with the Ash'aris that Mu'tazila are daldeen. But the Ash'aris are the cubs of Mu'tazila. Wallahi. And their leader was 40 years Mu'tazila, Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari. Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, when he repented and he left this way, he quoted the Mu'tazila saying that Allah, He was while there was no place. And this is the statement of the Shia. You Ash'aris are resembling the Shia. The Prophet did not say Allah was while there was no place. In a matter of fact, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, look at it. Have a look at it. He said, كان الله ولا مكان. Allah was while there was no place. وهو الآن على ما عليه كان. And He is now as He used to be before. Ibn Hajar said, this last phrase of this narration has no place in any book of hadith. Do you have more Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani? Yes, I have more for you. What? نبه على ذلك العلامة ابن تيمية. Allahu Akbar. Oh, enemies of Ibn Taymiyyah, get this from Ibn Hajar. He said, the scholar, not only scholar, the great scholar, Allama, not alim, Allama Ibn Taymiyyah gave notification and notice about this. وهو مسلم في قوله. And his statement is accepted of what he had said. I'm translating it word for word. So, Ash'ari himself, he said that this statement is Mu'tazili statement. Have a look at it. Ibn Hajar said that this statement has no place in any book of hadith, while this liar said, I can prove to you from the Quran, from the Sunnah, that Allah has existed without place. What a liar. Allah proved that He is over His throne. And you say, no. After He created the place, the throne, He is as what He was. That's a lie. Allah said He created the heavens and the earth, then He went over His throne. The Quran did not say, and He is as He was. Now it's time to show you where is the source of that. It's from the Shia. The Ash'aris are taking their doctrine from the Shia. Look at that. Very clear. This book is At-Tawheed for Ibn Babawayh al-Qummi al-Shi'i al-Rafidi. You are a liar against the Quran and the Sunnah. We are the Salafis chasing you wherever you go. We have the knowledge. We have the clear evidence. You have nothing. You're making people busy with this. You call it Tawheed. While you're agreeing with those who ask the dead. Ya Muhammad, oh Muhammad, I have turned to you in my particular need, so it will be given to me. Where is that? In the hadith of the blind man. Come, I need some couples of blind Ash'aris, bring them and let them supplicate this hadith and say, "Oh Muhammad, we turn to you," etc., etc. Because this hadith, the hadith of the blind man who came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him to supplicate Allah for him to return his sight. The Prophet supplicated Allah for him and his sight was returned. Now the blind man did not stay at home and he called the Prophet from his home. He went to the Prophet. These steps prove a doctrine. That means you should not be asking someone who is neither present nor alive. What you're doing now, you're asking the Prophet who is not present, who is not alive. Using this hadith inappropriately will be causing doubt in people. Why those current blind people, they apply the hadith, but their sight does not return because they want the miracle to be repeated. They ignore Umar in his time of caliphate when he became the leader. He said, we used to be making tawassul with the Prophet when he was alive, and now, not anymore. They don't want that from Umar. Wallahi, it happened to me. I was in Medina, and there was a blind Syrian man. He was persuading me, trying to convince me to ask the Prophet at his grave. And he was quoting the hadith of the blind. And I said to him, wait a minute, you're blind? He said, yes. I said, did you supplicate the Prophet ﷺ to return your sight? He said, yes. I said, why you're still blind? He said, because my faith is weak. What a liar. If your sight returned, your faith will become stronger. It is not because your faith is weak. It is because you are opposing Umar, because you're asking the Prophet, quoting the hadith, but ignoring that the blind man came to the Prophet and he asked Allah to return his sight by the Prophet's supplication. Where's the Prophet now to supplicate? That is why Umar said in the hadith number 1010, Bukhari, "Oh Allah, we used to be, when we have a famine, we used to be asking you through your Prophet to grant us water. We used to." He said, "Kunna idha adadabna tawassalna ilayka binabiyyika fatusqiyana." We used to. That means not anymore. وَإِنَّا نَسْأَلُكَ بِعَمِّ نَبِيِّنَا. And we ask you through the uncle of our Prophet. And Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet, at that moment, he supplicated. Umar himself, he did not stop tawassul, but he used the correct tawassul. He waited for Uwais al-Qarani to come from Yemen. And when he saw him, he said to him, "Are you Uwais?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Ask Allah to forgive me." Why Umar did this? Because the Prophet said, whoever meet Uwais al-Qarni among you, let him ask him to ask Allah for him. That's correct tawassul. He said, فَمَنْ لَقِيَهُ مِنْكُمْ, whoever met with him, met. That means Uwais al-Qarni becomes present with him. فَمَنْ لَقِيَهُ مِنْكُمْ, that hadith is in Sahih Muslim. فَلْيَسْتَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ, let him ask Allah forgiveness for you. This is the Tawheed. You think that the Tawheed is to say, Allah is in nowhere. Allah is existed without place. Allah is neither up nor down nor right nor left. Nothing. This is Tawheed. Nothing. This is Tawheed. He is not inside the world. He is not outside the world. This is Tawheed. And this, wallahi they say, but not as number. Oh my God. I'm going to get crazy. How dare you say that, oh stupid Ash'aris, that Allah is one without number? Even in the book Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar, which is referred to Abu Hanifa, supposedly, that Allah is one without number. So if He's one without number, He's not one. If He is one without number, that means He's not one. The Christian will come and say, all right, that's good. The Trinity is three without number. Allahu Akbar. You see, those people are Jahmiyyah, and they are so proudly, they bragging. You are Mujassima. You are making Allah body. You know what scholars said? You know what Abdul Qadir Jilani said? The sign of the Jahmi is when he says to you, you are making Allah body. You are Mujassim. You are making Allah similar to the creatures. This is the sign of the Jahmi. And you say that to us, knowing not that it returns against you. Even Abu Hatim al-Razi, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, they all said, when the Jahmi says to you, you are mushabbih, you're making Allah similar to His creatures, because when we affirm Allah's attributes, they accuse us that we're making Allah body, similar to His creatures. Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Abu Hatim al-Razi, Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, they all said, this is the sign of the Jahmi, that he accuses you when you affirm Allah's attributes without majaz metaphor. That proves that he is Jahmi. And regarding the metaphor, as I mentioned, it's a matter of possibility. So why do you think that possibilities will solve the problem? No. Therefore, take your metaphor and throw it in the bin, or I flush it in the bathroom. I don't need it. There's no need for it. Since it's a matter of possibility, it doesn't solve the problem, because you're not allowed to detail something about Allah with possibility. Such as saying, istawa ala al-arsh, it means istawla. He recaptured, he recontrolled, he occupied the throne. Huh? So the throne was under whose control? Under whose occupation? See? You're in trouble. Or when you say that Allah descends at the last part of the night, that means His mercy. So the mercy of Allah. So we do not attain Allah's mercy except in a very narrow, particular time. The mercy of Allah is needed with every second over His servants and creatures. How dare you say that there's no mercy on you, O people, unless Allah's mercy gets down at the last part of the night. Ironically, when the Prophet talked about Allah's foot, that Allah will be putting His foot, qadam, in the fire, you know what they said? The Ash'aris said, it's possible that Allah will be creating a creature whose name will be, He'll be naming it. He'll be naming that creature Qadam, and He'll be saying to Qadam, go to hell. Haram! That's too bad. Unfair. Why He creates him and He tell him to go to the... What did he do? What was his guilt? This was mentioned by the Ash'ari, student of Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, Abu Bakr ibn Fawrak, in his book Mushkil al-Hadith. This Qadam is going to say, what am I being punished for? You just created me now, and you're throwing me in hell? This is the stupidity of the Ash'ari madhab. They're trying to give meanings which are possible. They always say possible, possible. يحتمل, يحتمل. Al-Ghazali said, التأويل محتمل. The metaphor. I don't call it explanation, because explanation based on possibility, I don't need it. Nobody needs it. It doesn't solve the problem. It should have been enough that you affirm all attributes that Allah attributed Himself in His Quran, or being attributed by His Prophet ﷺ and you say ليس كمثله شيء. Oh, before that you say ليس كمثله شيء. Then you affirm. Because if you affirmed without ليس كمثله شيء, the devil will hack you with his whisperings. So that's why Allah said ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. There is nothing that resembles him, and he is the all-hearing, all-seeing. Even the leader of the Maturidis, Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, the establisher of the Deobandi madhab, he said, we cannot affirm definitely that our ta'wil is correct. It may be something else that Allah meant. Stop messing around with Allah's names and attributes. By the way, you know when you say that Allah is not inside the world and not outside of the world, the communists will come and say, yeah, we agree with you. That's what we've been trying to make you understand since 100 years, that there is no God inside the world, nor outside of the world. You know, they say that the Salafis have no mind. I bear witness that the Ash'aris have mind. But the Jahmi methodology ruined that mind. So the mind does not think properly, because it's being consumed, utilized to oppose Allah's attributes in the Quran and the Sunnah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.